The JAYMOORE, the very best reviews. Tell them none can contest, we gon'
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about The Time Traveler's Wife, episode 4. Also, Barry, season 3, episode 7. And The Baby, episode 7. And then after I break down each show and tell you about it, I'm going to give it a Mosco rating and let you know where it stands as far as a score. So, let's get into it. Hope everybody had a good weekend. I hope everything worked out for you guys. Hope everybody was safe and had a good weekend. Got some rest, relaxation. Also, I'm going to squeeze in some time today to talk a little bit more about the Monique and D.L. Hughley drama that's unfolded. A little bit more has happened since Friday, where Monique calling out D.L. Hughley's wife and kids, as well as D.L. Hughley. And I'm going to just touch on that a little bit more and tell you a little bit about what I think about that, as well as where the drama is going. Don't forget to put the hashtag JAYMOOREREVIEWS. Get entered into the Cash App giveaway. Win a little bit of money. So let's get into it. We need to get 25 entries to get $10. If we got 50 entries tonight, then it'll be a $20 Cash App giveaway. So with that being said, don't forget to put the hashtag JAYMOOREREVIEWS. Damian Kenny already on it. What's up, brother? Appreciate you. You know, D-Weave, what's good? What's good? Montana Max in the building, ready? What's up? So let's go ahead and get it started with The Time Traveler's Wife. Also, I'm working on a video for P-Valley, The Boys, Star Wars, and Stranger Things. So I may not go live with those videos, but I will be making video reviews for those shows. So stay tuned. So, The Time Traveler's Wife is a very unique and interesting show on HBO. I've been talking about it now for the last 4 weeks, and this episode was very good, very intriguing. It's like nothing else on TV, where you're dealing with a lot of strange things that's happening, and they actually addressed it this episode. So last week, I said that it was borderline grooming taking place on the show, but it was done tastefully in the sense that they were trying to make it palatable. They weren't showing him trying to groom her at a young age or trying to seduce a young person, but nevertheless, it was taking place. Now, this week, we learned that he had rules in place. Okay? He had rules in place, such as whenever he would meet her at their favorite little hiding spot that in the woods, that he would never kiss or have any type of relations with her. And this episode, we see that she's 18 when she met him in the woods. And, I mean, they make that little spot in the woods look like the Garden of Eden or something. I don't know. But anyway, she had a suit for him as his clothing this time. So he's like, where's my clothes? Why I'm in this suit? And so she kept stressing on the day. And he said, okay, what's that day have to do with anything? Tell me. And she said, I'm 18. So every other time that they saw each other in this spot in the woods, she was underage. Even though last episode she was 16, this time she's 18. And he said, look, this can't happen. I can't be with you. I got rules. I can't be with the younger version of yourself. She's getting upset. They going back and forth. And he said, this is grooming. If I'm getting with you at this age, like I actually don't meet you until I'm 28. So she's saying, yeah, well, I've known you before then. And I've been grooming you. Which she couldn't groom him in this situation because she was a young girl at 6 years old when he was 28 or 30 or 40 or something like that when he met her. So she was falling in love with him as a best friend. He was the only one really showing her a lot of attention at her life at a young age. But she didn't groom him. Now, last episode, she did have him kidnap a guy, which I don't understand what happened to this guy, because they kidnapped the guy. She wanted him to be killed. They end up tying the guy to the tree. We find out that that guy actually raped her and beat her, but she didn't tell him that because she didn't want him to know that she wasn't a virgin when she got with him. So what happened was he was with her in the Garden of Eden, and they end up getting together or whatever. And while they were because she did end up seducing him, she took her dress off, and he saw that 18-year-old cakes, and he was like, well, happy birthday. Nevertheless, they end up sleeping together while he was, 41, and she was 18. But they found out last episode when she's 16 that they would actually be married. He tried not to tell her, but while they had old boy tied to the tree, he spilled the beans. So later this episode, she's having flashbacks about being raped because he was trying to tell her, I don't want to be your first, I want to be your last. And so she was having that flashback as in, boy, if you only knew about my first. And last episode, she did say that she never told him. And the way that this goes on, where they have the episode play, but then it cuts to them talking to a camera at different ages in their life. Sometimes they're young, sometimes they're old. It leads me to believe that either she outlives him or he's dead in the future at some point. And they kind of said a little bit about that this episode, which was kind of interesting how they did that. So as they got together, he told her, I won't see you again for 2 years. So she's upset. He's saying, live your life, have fun, because the guy that you're going to meet is doing that. And he doesn't know you even exist at this point. So do the same thing. So we later see that by the time she's 19, she's living in some luxury like loft apartment, and we see that it was some type of dinner that they were having with her and her friends, and we see Henry showing up, and the guy that was there, Gomez, kept calling him library boy. And so we could see he got a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of shade attached to him. And so we later find out that he had reason to be a little jealous and shady, because not only was he her roommate's boyfriend, we later see she's sleeping with him too. So she's sleeping with Gomez while her roommate was out of town. And he's talking about how much he loves her more than the roommate. And she's saying, well, I love Henry. Because he said, well, if Henry's so great, why is he not here? And she said, well, he's out of town. He won't be back for a year. So it's skipping around. So we see that Gomez, while he leaves that night from them sleeping together, he's drunk at a bar or whatever. And he sees Henry arguing with this one woman, and she's, they walking across the street. he's behind her and she's saying, leave him alone, da 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 da. They arguing. And he steps into it and says, you need to stop following her. And it could be some problems and repercussions if you don't. So Henry ends up leaving it alone, leaving. And this is a younger version of himself. And the girl leaves. So we see later that when, Claire is sitting there with her roommate, and they talking about Gomez, and she's saying, Gomez really got the hots for you, Claire, and she's saying, nah, that's for you, y'all a good couple. She said, yeah, he thinks you a lesbian, which he did mention to her when they were sleeping together. After it was over, they kind of had a small little argument because he was upset that she was crying and then wondering why and all this other stuff. So she said he think you a lesbian, and so she said, well, that's funny, and but no, I'm not a lesbian. And so she said, you the one that's beautiful and hot. And she said, yeah, I feel the same way about you. Meanwhile, they drinking some wine. Next thing you know, the roommate, who is beautiful, kisses her. And so she pushes her off like, hold on, wait a minute. No, this ain't that. This ain't that type of thing. And so the roommate all upset, whatever the case, saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. And then next thing we know, she waking up in the bed with the roommate. So she just slept with both the friend and the roommate. So she definitely was getting around and living her life in the time, that 2 years after meeting him. And she said, I wouldn't want to keep going through this with you when they were in the Garden of Eden. But he said, in 2 years, we'll be together and you won't have to keep doing that anymore because we won't be with anyone else after that 2 years. So I guess she was getting it out of her system because in 2 years they would be together and they wouldn't be with anybody else. So we see the dinner party taking place, and he shows up. He being called library boy. Gomez got a little smart comments. Meanwhile, they talking or whatever the case. And then the door rings, and it's the older version of himself. So now 2 versions of himself show up at the party. So they're in there talking, and of course he's naked, and they're talking and all this stuff with Claire and both versions of Henry, the 26-year-old and the 41-year-old version. And so while they're talking, Gomez come in, and they're talking a little bit. Then next thing you know, another person comes to the house, and it's the woman that he was having the argument with. And she walks in, and she knows that he's a time traveler also. And she's saying, well, I was with him first, and this, that, and the other. And we later find out, well, you may have been with him first as far as in order, how life goes. But he's been a part of Claire's life since she was 6, which even she said, that's creepy, which it is. You got a grown man hanging out with a 6-year-old version of his wife. I'm sure that was very influential on her falling in love with him somehow, some way. So we later see that he doesn't really remember every single thing that happens from each thing in life. And so what ends up happening is some stuff start coming back to him. He remember how the evening is going to play out. And so what ends up happening is he tells the truth. And he tells the younger version of himself that Gomez and the roommate are 2 of his best friends, which seem hard to believe since Gomez has been nothing but a jerk to him. and has been sleeping with Claire and loves her. But nevertheless, they end up coming out, and while he's talking to everybody, he's saying, I'm cooking risotto. And they say, well, how you doing that if you here right now? And then he opens up the door, and everybody sees him wrapped in the blanket, which just so happens to be the blanket that they were sleeping on when she was 18, when he deflowered her. So everybody's wondering, how is this possible? Is he your older twin? Which would make no sense. And then they explain about the time travel in a kind of roundabout way. And so, I mean, I'm sure that would have been very creepy, amazing, all kind of stuff wrapped in one. Gomez asking about stock tips, which he does tell him about Netflix, as well as surgical mask and other stuff. Very crazy to get some of that stuff. And while they all there drinking, talking, we later see that the other girlfriend that was there is got some issues, to say the least. And so she's a little clingy to Henry now. I guess she's realizing she loves him, or maybe she realized it, but now she's wanting to keep him. And she's saying, you know, all kind of stuff, hugging all on him. And the older version of him always kinds of looks at her a little bit with a little bit of sadness. So she says, why do you always keep looking at me like that? What's going on with me in the future? Am I dead? And he did have a good comeback. Everybody's dead in the future, which, I mean, you know, you go far enough in the future, everybody dies. So that was a good point. But she's like, nah, you know what I mean. And he wouldn't really tell her, but she said, how does it happen? And he said, well, I really can't tell you that. And she said, I bet it's pills, whatever the case. So we learn that she's been dealing with probably depression. She's very suicidal. We even see her wrist, and her wrist has multiple scars from cut marks. And so he basically lets her know she doesn't have much longer. And I mean, that was kind of sad. A lot of people like to know their future or wonder how they'll live or die or whatever the case in between. But when you get that news and it's not good news, I mean, that is kind of a hard pill to swallow. And she definitely was hurt. Now, it wasn't because of him. We see that more than likely she does it to herself. And so I guess if you had that type of news that you would probably end up killing yourself, what would you do? Would you change it? What would a person do? So nevertheless, she got that news. She was broken up, crying, all of that stuff. And it was really kind of sad for her. In the end, we see that he's actually going to be with Claire from the foreseeable future from here. His friends, he actually told them about it, which was kind of crazy that they were so accepting in a way. But from what he explained, is some type of glitch or DNA issue, and he can't control it, and it makes him time travel. And so, I mean, in a way, it's kind of a sad story in a way, because they were saying, well, could you stop this? Could you warn people of that? And he's saying, well, I mean, who would believe that a person's a time traveler, let alone popping up naked in all these places and saying this stuff? Most people probably wouldn't believe it, which that's probably very true. How many people would believe if somebody said they're a time traveler? And you actually can go on YouTube, and it is videos of people that are supposedly time travelers saying what's going to happen in the future and all kind of things. And it's very interesting, to say the least. I won't say it's believable, or not believable, but you believe what you want to believe. It's no way to really prove a lot of the stuff. So it is what it is. So anyway, to wrap it up, this was a very interesting episode. I like the special effects. I like the story. It's borderline kind of creepy at moments. They do put it together as palatable as possible, as tasteful as possible, whereas you may not even pick up on some of the things, which is why I was shocked when he mentioned that he was grooming her if he was having sex or sexual contact with her in the Garden of Eden, and he didn't want to influence her to that level and wanted her to choose her own path and do whatever it is she wanted to do, and live life, be with who she wanted to be, and not just save herself for him, because he said he ain't saving himself for her, because at this point he doesn't even know she exists, which was sad, because she loves him so much. But then again, is she really in love because she had the choice, or was she influenced at a young age? I don't know. Ladies, how many of you would have liked to have your husband visit you when you were between the ages of from 6 to 18? I mean, I don't know. That's very weird. Not to say it may be the worst, but it would definitely be strange. Now, he wasn't trying to sleep with you or kiss you and all that stuff at those ages, between 6 to 16. But nevertheless, that attention was something that she was missing, and by him giving it to her, she latched on to him. So we'll see. In the next episode, they alluded to a little bit of what may happen to him. He said, hey, I never seen myself past, I think he said 42 or 46, something like that. So he said either I found the cure somehow or I'm not alive anymore. So we'll see what happens. I don't think this is the type of series that will go on for 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons. So we may get a conclusion to this story pretty soon. I believe it's a limited story, limited series. It doesn't say limited series. I don't think I saw that. But we'll see how it turns out. Let's see. Has it been renewed for another season? I don't think yet it has. This is the Garden of Eden right here. This is when she was 18, coming to get chose with the blanket. She was ready. She took that dress off. When she took that dress off, boy, she had some Fredericks of Hollywood type stuff on damn near. So, you know, she was ready. She seduced him while he was in his 40s. And I will say that she may have seduced him at this point, but the work had already been done, and she was wanting him for a while. And even Gomez called him a George Clooney looking dude. And I mean, like, this is when she was 16. I mean, he going out eating ice cream with her. She out, instead of hanging with her friends, she hanging with him. And when he show up all greasy and moist, butt booty naked all the time, I mean, that influenced her. So we'll see how it all plays out for her. But, you know, she really loved this dude. And like they said, this episode, they will be together from this point on. So we'll see what happens. All right. Damian Kinney says, especially if your husband is butt naked in the bushes. Wait, I missed what you say. All right. You know, She could have worked at the Pink with that outfit on, huh? Let me get a little sip of my little juice. A little bit of gin. Make you sin. Alright. Alright, let me go ahead and give it a Mosco. And then we can go on to the next one. All right, the Mosco is a little score rating system I came up with. 4 categories with 25 points is the max for each category. Real simple, add up to 100. You can always break it down a decimal point to get a score of 1 to 10. So, first category, visuals and cinematography. I think that is a very good, above average visual show with the cinematography, the way that they place multiple versions of himself and interact and talk. And this episode was really well done with how they talk with each other, finish each other's sentences when they was talking to the friends, and how they would stand next to each other, do different things. I mean, it was seamless. I remember the first time we used to see the same person play multiple versions, and you could tell it was a little off. Whereas this, I mean, you would think it was really there if you didn't know any bit difference. So for that, I will give it a 25 for this episode. Storyline and plot, it is very interesting. He came out, told everybody, his friends, future friends, and we learned a lot about Claire as well and what's going on. And then we learned about this other girlfriend before Claire, and while they was talking, she even said, that's what the girl before me said, different things. So I mean, it's very interesting what's going on with him and how they got together. It's keeping me intrigued. I give it a 20. Special effects, makeup, the special effects are top notch. They use all the great camera work and all of that stuff. Although she didn't really look 18, she doesn't look too old, like, 30. So, I mean, that was pretty good how they kind of made her look younger. The way they make him look different ages with the long hair or the short hair with some gray or different things going on, I think is fantastic work. And I would give it 20 for what it is for that. And entertainment, fun factor. It was very entertaining. I enjoyed the episode. And I think that this is a good show to watch, especially if you're a lady and you like romance. It does have that. Guys, it does have a little bit of good storytelling and intrigue and stuff. And so I think that it has something for everyone. Brings it to a 20. I give it, which gives it a total score of 85 for this episode 4. Put that on here. So I give it an 85. All right, now let's get into Barry. Barry is also another show on HBO. All 3 of these shows are on HBO. I will be making videos for P-Valley, The Boys, Star Wars, Obi-Wan, and Stranger Things. So stay tuned for those. I am going to be ramping that up and getting that produced out pretty quickly. Now, Barry is in season 3. This is episode 7. And Barry did not disappoint. It's been very good this season. If you haven't watched Barry, you should definitely check it out. It's an action show, but it has a lot of storytelling that is very unique in the sense that it has the drama and the comedy intertwined with the action. and it's very well done. And it's only a 30-minute show. So you can watch it, and I mean, it's so good in that 30 minutes, it almost always leaves you wanting more, which is always a good thing. If you're watching the show and you're thinking, well, this is long, that's not a good thing. But if you're watching the show and you're thinking, man, that was good, it's over already, that's what Barry does pretty much every episode. This episode was no different. So, in this episode, episode 7, a lot kind of transpired. Like I say, they pack a lot into 30 minutes. So, we last left off with Barry eating poison from the lady he thought liked him and he was going to meet. And she put poison in his food. And he had the bubble guts on a level of 12 out of 10, 15 out of 10. And he was foaming at the mouth. And it looked like he was about to die when we left off. So this episode starts off with Barry on the ground, foaming at the mouth, shaking and twitching, looking like a Pookie Jr., and the woman is now tweaked out because she ain't a killer. And she's seeing a man pretty much die right before her eyes. And it's her fault. She poisoned him. She killed him. And while he's foaming at the mouth and shaking, she's tweaking out. So she throws a towel over his head so she don't have to watch him die. And leaves the house. Like, damn. So Barry is left to die in her house. I don't know what she was thinking, because if he did die in her house, what was she going to do with the body? So that would have been another problem that she would have had. Nevertheless, we see that Barry somehow wakes up and walks out the house after fighting for his life, fighting for breath. And while he's walking out the house, stumbling, he ain't walking normal. He's having a hard time. It's as if the street becomes flooded. And then next thing you know, he's on the beach. And while he's on the beach walking, we later see that on this beach, it's nothing but people that he's killed on the beach, staring at the ocean. And I mean, that was real creepy. But Barry, of course, sees his old military buddy, and he over here waving like, hi. Hey, how you doing, man? Hey. Like, dude even looked like, man, who you waving at, man? What the hell? Like, you killed me, but you waving as if, like, I'm going to say, oh, man, hey, long time no see. Crazy. We also see that Fuchs, a.k.a. Ken Goulet, is still up to his plan of getting people that are relatives of people of Barry's victims to then go and try to kill Barry. Because he is a coward. Instead of confronting Barry himself or trying to kill him himself, he's going to go around and get people to try to kill Barry, which is what the woman that poisoned him was, a person that Fuchs put the battery in their back, and try to get them to kill Barry, which will probably get them killed, whether by mistake or by Barry. We saw earlier in a couple episodes ago, the mother and son, the mother accidentally shot the son because she didn't know what she was doing. So we see that Fuchs is talking to Janice's father, and they end up getting in the car, and Fuchs thinks that he's riding to get more information and go and kill Barry. But what he in turn does is takes Fuchs' hating ass down to the police station And while Fuchs is at the police station, he then is being confronted by the cops, the little idiot cop that's in charge. He's still thinking that he's the Raven because that's what NoHo Hank told him. So he's like, yeah, we got the Raven. He is the one that killed Janice. The Raven. And so the FBI agent is there. And when the guy, Janice's father, tells them that this guy said he knew who killed my daughter. And that he said it was a guy by the name of Barry Berkman. And they said, well, that's the second person. That's not the first time we've heard that. And then he said, well, who's the other person? And they said, the acting coach, Gene Cousineau. So while they're in there, the FBI agent that used to serve with Barry, coincidentally, tells them, turn the cameras off, and I'm going to go in there and talk with him. And so, you know, the idiot cop, like, no problem. This is how the FBI does things. You want a phone book to beat him with? So, nevertheless, he go in there, and while talking, he realizes that maybe he is on to something, because Fuchs does know a lot of information about Barry. He knew who he was when he explained about how he was injured while over there serving, and that Barry took his frustrations out on the wrong guy. So he knew who he was. He said, you're Albert. So he kind of believes Fuchs a little bit, but he know Barry saved his life, so he's trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Meanwhile, we see that Gene Cousineau has his own TV show now. They told him that they loved what he was doing last week on the show, and that they were thinking about doing a show with him, like a acting show, acting teacher class type show. And so we see that the show is now in full production. He hired to direct the show the ex-girlfriend that he did so wrong, and it seems that everything is going right for him until Janice's father shows up asking questions about Barry. And he said the cops think that, well, the cops said, rather, that you said Barry did it as well. What's going on with that? And he said, well, no, he was there, but he didn't do it. He's a good guy, this, that, and the other. Because now his career is taking off because of what Barry said about him and put him in the position to get an acting role, a speaking part. And now his career is like blowing up again. And I guess he doesn't want to jeopardize that, especially after he just tried to reconnect with his son and buy his son a house and other things. So we'll see how that plays out. But he may get growing a conscience and throw all this stuff away because he really loved Janice and he want to tell what's going on. We don't know yet. Now, also, NoHo Hank done went to South America, I believe, to look for Cristobal. Why? Hey, Cristobal, are you here? Hey. He just saying that walking down the street as if everybody will know Cristobal or Cristobal will hear you. He ends up talking to some random dude, and while he's talking to this dude at like this like shop, open air market, and the guy didn't know Cristobal, but he mentioned the family, and the guy's saying they sell drugs. And he like, yeah, you know them. Yeah, they drug dealers. Where you tell me? Where's Cristobal? Where are they? And while he's just staring at him and talking, he pulls out this like multiple piece like sticks and putting it together. And he's just standing there watching him. And he putting it together. and then he get like a little blow dart and put it in there, and then blow it in his neck, and he like, I had a feeling that's what you were doing, but I didn't know. Okay. And he puts him out of commission right there. I mean, that was hilarious. You know, he's an idiot, NoHo Hank. So he got taken out by the dart. Just sat there and watched him put it together and take him out. So we also see that while all this is going on, Barry, you know, later is not dead, even though he was imagining that he was seeing all the people he killed. He was actually in the alley, so he did make it out of the house, but he was hallucinating and it's in a state of half consciousness. And while going through that, he ended up sitting in the alley, and one of the people that Fuchs told about him killing their family members was there and picks him up and save him. But we didn't notice at the time. We thought it was some good Samaritan. It turned out to be Ryan, the first person he killed on the show that was in the acting class. And he ended up taking him to the hospital, but he didn't take him in. And he's there talking to Barry, telling him about his feelings with his son and what happened and how he was hurt when he was killed and different things of that nature. And so Barry is barely conscious, and while he barely conscious, he's steadily giving him this information about what happened and how he felt. But what he said is, if I don't take you in, I'll feel bad for having something to do with killing you. So we didn't see him take him in, but chances are by next episode he would have probably took him to the hospital and helped Barry with being poisoned, maybe drop him off. But we did see he had a gun with him in the car. Now, I doubt he shoots him, but he was planning on possibly do it because Ken Goulet, aka Fuchs, then put the battery in everybody's back and have them ready to kill Barry. Lastly, Sally is losing her mind. Now, I feel bad. Sally actually, her show got canceled after like one day. It was doing great. Her assistant, who's been there by her side, supporting her, doing all this stuff. Sally's on this new show called Three Medusas, and she doesn't really like the show, didn't want to be on it, but she's working. She's in the meeting with them, questioning what they want, what they're doing, this, that, and the other. You could tell the writer didn't like it, but nevertheless, while she's leaving and talking with some of the people after questioning in the class, in the meeting, she hears a whole bunch of laughter, and she like, what's that? And she like, oh, that's these writers or whatever. They're having a party. And she looks in the room, and there's none other than her assistant making everybody laugh, making fun of people, all this stuff to say. And while she's doing that, Sally's getting furious and jealous. So we later see that she confronts the assistant, and she found out the assistant now is on her own show that's pretty much a ripoff of Sally's show. And so while in the elevator, she snaps on her, calls her a C-U-N-Tijuana, and all this stuff about how she ain't this, she ain't that, blah, blah, blah. Little did Sally know, because the woman was all backed into a corner or whatever, that she was recording the entire thing and eventually put it on social media about how she was attacked by Sally. Sally's manager or agent told her, do not respond. Sally responded anyway, and made matters worse. When she was telling Sally at the house, why'd you do that? You should have let me handle it. Sally went off on her, saying, you ain't really got my back. You work for me. You ain't this, you ain't that. And so she said, you know what? I got to drop you. And so now Sally's career is unraveling, and she has no support now, and it looks pretty bad for her. She might end up getting back with Barry so he could go and take out the people that did her wrong. Who knows? So we'll see. All right, now it's time for the Mosco for Barry episode 7. All right, the Mosco is 4 simple categories with a 25-point high score rating, bringing it to a total of 100. You can always break it down a decimal point and get a score of 1 to 10. So visuals and cinematography, they did a great job with this. Used top-notch cameras. I like the visual of how the water was flooding the streets and blended into the ocean. That was a pretty cool effect. And for the most part, they didn't have anything spectacular, but they did an all-around good job. Other than that, they showed everybody at the beach kind of just waiting, I guess, to go to the next level somehow, whichever way they were going. And there was just a couple other interesting things on how they showed Barry going between consciousness and that state. Overall, I would give it a 20. Storyline and plot is pretty good. I really enjoyed this episode. How they're trying to show what Fuchs is doing, the FBI, Sally having a mental breakdown, Barry. It really wasn't about Barry too much this episode. NoHo Hank is always hilarious, and I enjoyed him as always this episode. I will give this episode a 20 for storyline and plot, and special effects and makeup. Wasn't too many special effects really going on this episode, but overall, other than the water blending into the street and a couple other things with Barry looking like he was going to die, foaming at the mouth, different stuff like that. Overall, though, I would give it a 20. And entertainment, fun factor, a very entertaining episode, and it's been on par with the rest of the season, and I enjoyed this episode just like all the rest. And it wasn't the best episode so far, but it is very good, and I give it a 20, which brings it to a total score of an 80 for Barry episode 7, season 3. All right, Barry, if you all haven't checked it out, check it out on HBO Max. It is a good show, very entertaining, 30 minutes. The first 2 seasons are only 8 episodes a season. You can watch it in no time and catch up, and I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. It's a good show. Check it out. I highly recommend it. This is only the 3rd season. All right. Now, lastly, for tonight, we're going to talk about The Baby. And after this, I will get into a little bit more about what happened with D.L. Hughley. Okay? So, The Baby episode 7 was a very good episode in the sense that we learned a little bit more about what's going on with the baby and Natasha, Mrs. Eves, and the background. So we already have learned that this baby is not a baby. This baby is actually 40 to 50 years old. Okay? And we learned in this episode that it's some type of spell or something attached to this baby, and that Miss Eves thinks she can break the spell. She want to kill the baby, but now she feels she could break the spell. We later see during this episode that Natasha, by providing a little bit of TLC, was able to get the baby to calm down, and she feels that the baby could actually be cured and be okay if you give him enough love and, caring and, tender love and care. And so she's now not on board with the killing the baby type thing. But little did she know at first, because Mrs. Eves did have some type of heart attack, so she trying to help her through it. But she didn't know the extent of what Grandma was ready to do. And so while going in her car of Mrs. Eves, she finds all kind of witchcraft items and things in there. I mean, the baby, they be touching on some subjects. And this is a limited series. So she's trying to see what she could do to help both Mrs. Eves and the baby. She then thinks that she could possibly change it around. We later see that her sister Bobby, is having some type of breakdown. She was the magician's assistant, so her lover is a magician, and she's her assistant. So that explains why she was doing magic tricks throughout this show. And while they're doing their audition, I guess, to get a full-time booking, she's in a state of zone, trance, whatever you call it, and she's definitely not into it. She kind of tanks the whole performance, gives away the trick, saying, I'm not really throwing the knives, here go the knives, it's an illusion, and then walks off the stage and says she quit. So she not only quit, but she did it in a horrible way. It's not always about what you do, but how you do it. That's the key. And so, because she did that and the way she left, that was probably the end of their relationship. So, we then later see that Miss Eves has a plan, which is to kill the baby's father. We see in the hospital, this man is in the cardiac ward. He got a bad heart. And while she goes to try to take him out, she done brought gasoline. I don't see how there ain't nobody there to notice that a woman walking in with gasoline in the damn hospital. She come in with gasoline and gets into this man's room. She's confronting the dude. She had the baby with her, and she got the baby there to watch, and she says, I'm here, this is your son. She pouring gasoline on this man while he in the hospital bed, and he's saying, that's not my son, that his wife took the baby and killed him, took him into the ocean, and he drowned. This man is looking like he's 70, 80 years old. That's how he looked. Or maybe he was in his 60s, 60 to 70s. But nevertheless, this is an old man now. But the baby is still a baby. It never grew up. So it's got to be more to it than he need TLC. Because he never is aged. He's still a baby after 30, 40 years. Which is just, wow. That's worse than Benjamin Buttons. So, we see that while she's about to light him up like a joint, he gets his last little dose of energy and pushes her down. He then he busts her head with a vase, lay her out, gets on top of her, tries to strangle her, choke her out with his oxygen tubes. But while doing all that, he then suffers a heart attack, conks out, And she tries to get upset that that's how he died and wants to light him up. You know, she wanted to smoke that joint. And while almost accomplishing that, Natasha, she was on her way running to get there to stop her. She ends up stopping her before she burns him. Well, I wouldn't say alive. He was just dying. But before she burns him up in the hospital. And so once she does that, she takes the baby, tells Miss Eves, you know, you tripping, you crazy. This ain't going, that wasn't the way. And she takes the baby. And I think in her mind, she thinks that she can help him if she gives him the TLC that she feels he needs. So we'll see what happens. This is a limited series, so we'll learn more about it and the conclusion pretty soon. I believe it's only 8 episodes. Let me double check. Next episodes, it's only 8. Yep, it's only 8 episodes. So next episode next week will be the last episode for the baby, and we'll see what happens with that. So, and I believe Barry is also 8 episodes. So I will be talking about some other shows live during this time period after next week. And of course, I'm planning on doing videos for others, short 10-minute video recaps like I used to do, and not so many live. So with that being said, stay on the lookout because it's coming. Now, let's do the Mosco for episode 7 of The Baby on HBO. All right, the Mosco is 4 simple categories. Top score of 25 points each, giving you a total of 100. You can always round it down, rather, take off a decimal point to get a score of 1 to 10. So, the first category, visuals and cinematography. It was a very dark episode. It seemed like it was no sunshine at all for the most part. And the way it's portrayed is kind of creepy. But this isn't a show that is scary in the sense of monsters and stuff of that nature. It is more of kind of a creepy vibe to it, but it actually isn't very many visual creepy aspects to it. And I think they accomplish their job with this because of how they portray it visually, with the darkness and the gray and all of that. So I will give them props for using a lot of good visual camera tricks on how they portray it, and I'll give it a 20. Storyline and plot. This is a storyline and plot for this show overall, unlike any other show. This episode with Natasha thinking the baby only need a little TLC, I don't think she really understands this baby is like older than her. And we see Miss Eves trying to take out the dad of the baby, which I didn't even think about whether he was alive or not. And she wanted to burn him in the hospital. I mean, she is really heartbroken that her lover, who was the mother of the baby, is gone. And she kind of blames the father. And before the father died, he kind of blamed the mother. And not only was she going to try to kill him, but she was going to make the baby watch, which was really crazy. But I'll give it a 20. It was very interesting. It's something else of a show. It'd probably be a good watch, really much better if you could watch it straight through without the weekly interruptions. Special effects and makeup. They do the special effects when they show the younger version of Miss Eves, which is another actor. It's not actually her. But the way that they portray everything and do it, it's almost a belief that that could have been her. And we did see different things when they're in a half of a sleep state versus awake. And of course, the way that they kind of show certain things with the camera and everything, it's pretty good. Nothing spectacular this episode, and I would give it a 15. Okay. And then lastly, entertainment fun factor, I would give it, for this episode, it was interesting. It wasn't the worst, but I would give it a 15. It was interesting. It was entertaining. I've been invested in the show now for 7 episodes. So, to that regards, I mean, maybe if this was my very first episode, it may not have got me the same, but since I've been invested, it's a 15. It wasn't one of their best, but it wasn't one of their worst. And I'm interested to see how the show ends. Overall, I give it a total of a 70, which I always give a 0.5 margin of discretion either direction. So if you say between a 6.5 to 7.5, a good case could be made for any of those scores. All right. Overall, HBO has had 3 very different shows than what we have been watching normally play out this last few weeks. And I'm interested and ready to see Game of Thrones, because they have the Game of Thrones prequel coming out, and many other shows that are coming out pretty soon within the next couple weeks. So definitely got a lot more to watch than what we have been seeing this last couple weeks. But I like to watch a lot of different shows, a lot of different genres and styles, which I believe it is entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I don't watch it just for review purposes, but it also gives a person a better background on what's a good show and what isn't. How can things be written better? And when things are not written well, you can easily point it out. You can now see different camera and visual techniques used when some people don't use them on different shows. It stands out. So I think it gives a well-rounded view and approach to filmmaking and watching movies and TV shows. So I definitely suggest everybody should watch different shows and things out of their normal comfort zone of what they may always watch, because you never know. You may end up liking it. You may see some things and think it was cool. Whatever the case, you'll then probably appreciate some of the shows that you do like a little bit more. All right. Now, lastly, before we do the Cash App giveaway, right now we got 17 entries. We need to get to 25 in order to do the Cash App giveaway. 25. So we need 8 more. Come on now. What's up, people? 8 more entries for the Cash App giveaway. All right. One Journey, what's up? How you doing? Say, first time I like the housewife of Lagos. Yeah, exactly. You never know. You got to expand your horizons. Montana Max, it's important to know the difference between trash and fire. Exactly. If all you've ever watched is, and I don't want to use them for example, but if all you ever watch is shows like Power and The Chi, for example, how would you know that there are shows similar that are better? You know, if you miss those, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference on Because you can't give every show a 10 if you've only seen a handful of shows, or you never saw what people do creatively with other shows. So how do you know this could be a 10? If you never seen Godfather Harlem, yeah, it's in the same genre, or The Wire, or The Sopranos, then how could you say that that was a great episode, a 10, when you really have nothing to rate it against? So, definitely expand the horizons, and it will definitely be beneficial. And hey, you may still think the episode or the show that you like, for example, The Chi or Power, is a 10. That's your opinion. Nothing wrong with that. But at least you can say, well, yeah, I saw this, that, and the other, but I like this show because it does this, that, and the other, or has this, that, and the other. And you got more reasons why and comparisons. So definitely check it out. Now, Better Call Saul, I heard, was very good. It's a spinoff from, what is it called? Walter White. But anyway, it's on Netflix, and it's an excellent show. I'm sure you all will type what Better Call Saul is a spinoff for me. Breaking Bad, I just remembered before. I got it out before you typed it. But Breaking Bad, which was an excellent show, Better Call Saul is a spinoff of that. And so when you start to see a lot of these different things and genres, it will give you more of an appreciation. Or maybe you could recognize when things are not top notch on the shows you like. Okay? Alright. Now, shout out to Victor Scott. Say been busy with the air conditioning season killing me. Yeah, that's true, man. It's the summertime. That's your money making time right there. So definitely go ahead and get that money. Right now we at 20 entries. So let's get to 25. I'm about to talk about the Monique and D.L. Hughley saga real quick, and then I'm gonna get out of here unless we got the 25 entries. Alright, so we are kind of familiar by now, most of us, with D.L. Hughley and Monique, War of the Words. I talked about it on the Friday Fuss 2 days ago, and now it has taken another turn, and it looked like Monique is not only firing shots, she dropping bombs, bazookas, everything. She done took it to a whole nother level. So now D.L. Hughley's oldest daughter had to come check Monique about something that she said that I'm going to let you all tell me, was it fair or foul? You write in the comments, fair or foul, and I'll tell you what I think about it. So, D.L. Hughley's daughter, Ryan Nicole Shepard, has decided to speak up after the ongoing feud between her father and Monique got personal. Shepard penned a lengthy message for Monique where she voiced her displeasure towards the comedian for including her mother and younger sister in their public spat. Out of all the things you could have legitimately said about my dad, if that's the route you wanted to take, you chose to be deliberately mean and hurtful to two black women who have nothing to do with this conversation. Using my mama and my sister to show people my father's character only shows how little mental stability, dignity, morality, and respect you have, not only for yourself, but other black women. Monique posted a video of Hughley expressing remorse for initially dismissing a claim from his daughter that she was sexually assaulted because he thought he knew the character of the person who allegedly did it. When I saw how DL's wife sucked the ding-a-ling of a coward, what? Let me just rewind that. So Monique said, when I said, how can DL's wife suck the ding-a-ling of a coward, this is what I meant. And then she posted this video. So she actually said that his wife is sucking the ding-ding of a coward. Wow. Now it says, when my husband and I say we have to fight for little girls coming up behind us, and you see DL didn't believe his own daughter over a friend because he seemingly likes his friend more than he loved his own daughter and didn't want to be bothered by the inconvenient truth. This highlights why the black woman, she put woman, isn't believed when she publicly speaks about her trauma. What does the black woman and DL's black wife have coming? Watch who stands with this man, and you're looking at the same ones who will sit down. When you, our sisters, are being attacked, I find it funny that DL will call out Ice Cube, Kanye, RZA Islam, Angela Stanton, myself, etc., but he won't call out the name of the person that violated his daughter. This is what happens for the people who said, I just need to let things go. P.S. Thank you, Amir S. We love you for real. Okay. Wow. So, D.L. Hughley's daughter, I mean, of course, she's furious. She said, you're disgusting, and you absolutely need to keep every single member of my family's name out your poisonous mouth. Not because you could do us harm, you can't, but because you are adding to the historical and systematic disrespect and trauma of other black women who you claim to love. And for what? A check? Shepard concluded her message by offering an invitation to talk about this matter in person, which Monique appears to have taken her up on. And this is all on Instagram. It's just really gotten out of control. This is D.L. Hughley's oldest daughter, Monique and D.L. Hughley. And she said, basically, keep my mama and my sister out your mouth. And it said that to show people my father's character only shows how little mental stability, dignity, morality, and respect you have, not only for yourself, but other black women. So, that's very sad. I think Monique took it to a whole nother level by saying that. Even my mom was a little upset to hear that. And, I mean, that's taking it too messed up. Now, I'm not saying that D.L. Hughley wasn't wrong for not believing his daughter over a friend, but that's personal, and she's taking this stuff all about from who was the headliner on the show to now you're making it personal attacks and different things. I mean, wow. She took it to a whole nother level, and I think she should have at least kept it focused on DL, because his wife and his daughter are not public figures, and I think she's really hurting herself more than helping anything. She's saying she's looking out for her people and painting a picture of DL Hughley and this and that. I think it is actually saying more about her at this moment. Now, he may have been wrong about that. more than likely he is wrong for that. I don't know the whole story of that. But that is not her place to bring that up about a headline show dispute. Wow. Damian Kinney, you say Monique keep getting worse. It was not fair for her to bring DL family into their dispute. Next week she'll be crying, apologizing, blaming her behavior on current events. Hey, possibly. You know, Barika said foul. Tanya Adams said Monique's career is done. I definitely think her career is about done. I would say Monique was a B to A minus on the scale of an A-lister. She was a B to an A minus. I think she just dropped herself down to a C minus to a D, because I don't think people may want to book her. And I think Monique is very talented. I actually like Monique, and I'm like feeling sad that they even got to this point and that all of this is transpiring. It's like self-destructive behavior. If you wanted to keep going back and forth about this headlining thing, I think it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a big deal, but it wouldn't have stopped her career or made a bigger problem if she didn't make it magnified to this level. She could have highlighted this behind the scenes, maybe. Hey, this is what was in the contract, this, that, and the other. Maybe work it out or not work it out, but she will work again and keep it moving. I think now she is putting herself in the position where maybe nobody may not want to work with her or touch her in that situation, and it's messed up. I know 50 Cent is probably a lot of thoughts is running through his head now about Monique. And yeah, they may be on good terms, but he's probably wondering, like, what will be next with our relationship, especially if it is a problem. Will she blow it out of proportion? Tanya said she better not think about fooling with 50 pennies because he will drag her the rest of her life, basically. I know, right? 50 Cent, he will get down and dirty with you. So I will give him that. And I don't think that she might want to go back and forth with that. But also, I don't think he would like to do that either. Monique could start getting real dirty, and she could sling some mud, and she done got real dirty right here. So I don't know where she could go with this, but I definitely think that this relationship is ruined with her and DL. And as far as being a headliner, I don't know if she could be a headliner at this moment, at least, with all the toxic stuff going on. Maybe at smaller venues, but maybe not at bigger venues. Montana Max, I do kind of agree with you in the sense that Monique didn't have those problems until she got that Oscar and got married. I'm not exactly sure about the marriage part, just because I'm saying I haven't been following it, so I'm not exactly sure. And I'm not going to say I'm 100% sure about the Oscar, but she does bring that up a lot. I'm an Academy Award winner. I got more awards than this and that. I'm an award winning this and that. And I definitely think that award and winning that award really changed her. Really changed her, maybe outlook on herself at that. She now feels that she's probably Angela Bassett. I never heard Angela Bassett say anything about award winning or any of that stuff. But Monique says it a lot. A lot. And, I mean, that's kind of sad, man. Definitely. Damian Kinney says the DL's comment about Precious being a Monique documentary hurt her feelings, so Monique felt she should get personal. That's a great point, Dame. That is a great point, and you may be 100% right. I didn't even think about it like that. And you got a great point. Although he could get on some personal... He did say that she's been doing this with other people. But he didn't get to the point of how could your wife suck the dang-a-lang of a coward and all this stuff and putting out... What if they didn't want that part? I never heard of this incident. Again, I'm not a big follower of celebrity scandals. So, I mean, it would have to be something for me to hear it. But I didn't know about this, and now to hear about it like this is kind of sad. So, Barika, Monique trying to clown DL for his initials, but her zaddy is bisexual, allegedly. DL for what? Down low? She could have stuck to some jokes like that, and that would have been better at least than to throw these two women under the bus like that. And Montana Max, I have heard this, and Barika just said it a little bit about him a little bit. But you say her husband is all in her ear in the background. I'm telling you. I'm going to add an allegedly because we don't know for sure. But I have heard allegedly that he has had a negative influence and changed her, not for the better, allegedly. And that he is her manager and maybe not the best manager for her. That is things that I've heard allegedly is going on. I don't know. I haven't met them or seen it or whatever. But sometimes people get caught up in the wrong situations and do things that they regret, but they don't realize it until it's maybe time has passed, to say the least, whether it's weeks, months, years. So we'll see what happens. Ill Woods, you said Monique, the one with the coward comment. That's horrible. Okay, it is horrible to say what she said, though. That was on a whole nother level. Don Magic Ron, you just a black woman can really get medieval when they're pushed the wrong way. Hey, I wouldn't put it past her. I mean, I see right now what she doing, and that definitely is pretty bad. All right, y'all, it's time to wrap it up. I appreciate everybody for watching. Don't forget to stay tuned for the next episode. Unfortunately, it ain't gonna be no giveaway today. We only got 21 entries. I appreciate everybody for putting in the JAYMOOREREVIEWS, hashtag JAYMOOREREVIEWS. Let's make sure we get it all in there, at least 25 entries. That's not a lot. Let's get 25 entries so that we can do a Cash App giveaway so I can give back to those that give to me and all the support. Everybody, y'all have a good weekend. Get some rest. I'll catch y'all later. Everybody, be safe out there. And I'll see y'all on the next episode. I'm out of here. Peace. Deuces.